Hey guys, welcome to M Plants. Today I will be covering this beautiful plant with beautiful flowers. The plant is called Anthurium. It is also known as tail flower plant or flamingo flower plant. For the obvious reason, the flowers look like flamingo bird. The long legs and all that. But let us understand why at times it becomes very difficult to care for this plant and we get those yellow leaves in this plant. We don't want them, obviously. We get those brown leaves and it just becomes difficult to care for it. According to me, this plant is not a very difficult plant if we keep 3 to 4 things in mind and we apply it while dealing with this plant. Otherwise, it's very easy to kill this plant if we don't care of those things. So let us understand what they are. So most of us think that this is the leaf of the plant and this is the flower. Yes, this is the leaf of the plant, but this is not the flower. This is something called spathe, which is there in the plant to attract bees for pollination. This thing, this thin thing that you see is the flower of this plant. So that is the first thing that I wanted to share. Now the next thing is that this plant loves warm, humid climate to grow because again it is from rainforest. Now the reason you see a lot of water on my plant is because it is raining today outside and I wanted to keep my plant out in the rain just so that it is clean. So you can also do this if it is raining. Try to keep your plants outside in the rain so that your plant leaves are clean. When the leaves are clean, it becomes very easy for the leaves to breathe and it improves the health of your plant. The next thing that I want to share about this plant is light. This plant does not like direct sunlight. It has to be in bright indirect light. So if it is inside your house, you obviously most of the time inside the house we keep it in a place where there is no direct sun. But if you are keeping your Anthurium plants outside the house as an outdoor plant, please make sure that it does not get direct sun because there is no need of it, because if you keep this plant in direct sunlight it will burn their leaves and the leaves will go crispy and brown in color. So no direct sun, only bright indirect light. But when I say bright indirect light, my plant, I keep it outside. I use it as an outdoor plant. I never use my Anthurium as an indoor plant. You can do whatever is good for you, whatever best suits you. The reason I keep it outside is because right now most of the time when it is winter and it's cold, there is not much light inside the house, and outside it's still there is a lot of light. So I want to keep it outside so that it gets that bright indirect light. Inside the house, if it's in low light position, what happens is the leaves will be very small, there will be no flowers in the plant, and the growth of my plant will be very slow. So if you don't want these things, prefer to keep it in a lot of light, obviously not direct sun. Now next most important thing that I want to share regarding Anthurium is watering. Most of the cases, I would say 80 to 90% of the time, Anthurium plants die because they are overwatered. This plant hates being overwatered. If you water your plant when the soil is moist, forget wet, even if it is moist, a little moist, and if still you are watering it, this plant is not going to love it. I will only water my plant when the soil is dry. At least top 1 to 1.5 inch of soil is dry. If you have a look, I have planted my plant in a ceramic pot. It is not in a plastic pot. The reason I have planted my plant in a ceramic pot is because the water evaporates very easily from a ceramic pot than compared to a plastic pot. I had planted an Anthurium a couple of years ago in a plastic pot, and because of overwatering it died because the water could not evaporate that easily. That's the reason that I have planted it this time, I think last year or maybe more than that ago, in a ceramic pot. So I would recommend you the same because we want to save this plant from getting overwatered. So that is one good tip. Second thing is obviously you should check your soil, but another tip I would give is put a lot of soil in this plant, like till the brim. Not if not till the brim, let's say just leave 1 inch empty from the top, but otherwise completely fill it with the soil. What happens is when you do that, because there is so much of soil, the excess water will easily just drain out. So the water will not stay inside the pot. That is a good tip to do. when a plant doesn't like to be overwatered. So I would definitely do that for my Anthurium. The next thing I want to cover regarding Anthurium is we fertilize it a lot, thinking that if we fertilize our plant, it will give more leaves and more flowers. Don't do that, because Anthurium plants, they don't like a lot of fertilizer. It will actually burn the plant. I fertilize my plants like once in 4 months, and that is the maximum I'm saying. There is no way I'll fertilize. If I've fertilized my plant today, there is no way I'm fertilizing it for at least another 4 months. It's not required. And the best thing to add, according to me, is a mixture of cow manure and bone meal powder, and feed it to your Anthurium plant, and then forget it for at least 4 months. Then repeat the same thing. Feed it cow manure and bone meal powder, so you can remove 2-3 inches of soil from the top and give it some fresh cow manure, bone meal powder. The reason I'm saying cow manure is because it has a lot of phosphorus, and when you add a lot of phosphorus as a fertilizer to your plant, flowers will come easily. The flowers will be there for long time. So I would say long lasting flowers for your plant, and the health of the leaves will also be good. And phosphorus encourages a lot of new growth in plant. Hence I would use cow manure and bone meal powder. Also, if your plant is inside your house, you have to make sure that the humidity is not compromised, because inside the house we cook, and there is a lot of dry air. Because of that, we might keep our windows closed, because we don't want the pollution or the dust from outside world to come inside our house. So we do keep our house closed. Especially in winter season, we use heaters, so that reduces the humidity level of the house. The house becomes more on a drier side, which is not good for your plants. So you can either use a humidifier or give it a humidity tray. I would not prefer the pot to be straight in the water for this case, because the plant will absorb more and more water than required. So the best thing to do would be to put a lot of pebbles and put some water, and then put the pot on the pebbles, so that the pot does not touch the water, but still there is water around and there is humidity, and the plant will be happy. You can also keep it in your bathrooms or kitchen if there is a lot of indirect light, and obviously humidity is high in those places. If you want to keep this plant as an outdoor plant, then you can do what I do. What I have done is I keep it outside, surrounding with a lot of plants, like around 100 plants. So definitely the humidity is not compromised, and it is in a place where it does not get any direct sun, but obviously a lot of bright indirect light. And I just keep on giving it a quick shower every now and then to all my plants if it is not raining. If it is raining, I just want to keep them outside in the rain. Not a lot, but let's say if it is rainy season, once in a week I'll keep it outside, because I want my plants to be clean. I want them to have that natural rain water in them, because it also acts as fertilizer and it improves the health of my plants. You can do these same things. The last thing I want to cover is soil. The soil of this plant has to be very well drained, because as I mentioned that overwatering is something very common and this plant doesn't like it. So if the soil is very well drained, it is very easy for the water to just flow out of the pot. So obviously the pot has to have holes underneath, and then mix a lot of sand and pebbles. I would say use 50% of your normal garden soil. Remaining 25% you can use perlite, vermiculite, or pebbles, sand, anything. And then you can add 25%. The last 25% can be your compost, your organic compost, your cow manure, your bone meal powder, just a mixture of that, because that will act as nutrient which your plant definitely needs for a good growth. So this can be a good soil mixture. But yes, this mixture is the only reason that your plant will survive, because there will not be a lot of overwatering. I mean, there will not be a lot of water locked inside the pot, because the soil is very, very loose. And again, if you want to try this, you can try this. Go for ceramic pots in case of your Anthurium. If you have already planted in plastic pots, don't panic. Just make sure you don't water when the watering is not necessary. Anthurium plants are also used as a decorative plants. Obviously the look is so classy, the flowers are so beautiful, so you can keep it on your table, you can keep it on your dining table. It will be a good attraction, you know, even when guests are going to come. Instead of putting those artificial flowers or the bouquets that will die in a day or two, you can put plants like Anthurium inside your house, and that will give a great look to your house. But obviously you cannot keep it all the time on the dining table if there is not enough light or, you know, a good flow of air. So you can keep it wherever you want, but on special occasions it's okay to bring this plant inside the house, keep it somewhere as a point of attraction. But just make sure that the leaves are very harmful, they are toxic only if eaten. So if you touch this plant, if you keep it near you, you are not, nothing is going to happen, but you cannot eat the leaves of this plant because it's very toxic. So if you have children, if you have kids, babies, if you have pets, you have to make sure that you keep this plant away from them, because if they eat it, it can cause them digestion problems. So this is what I had to share regarding this plant, but I would highly recommend you all to go for Anthurium plants. They're very easy to take care. Just be careful of the light and not to overwater. That's it, and you'll nail this plant and you'll be so happy because the flowers are long lasting. And I just love that, you know, I don't have to fertilize it every now and then. Like it's like 2 or 3 times a year, which is not much, and then still it is giving me so many flowers. So it's worth it, I would say. But with that, I'll see you next time with another video, and bye for now.